Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with the Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown Show. We're doing an ultra quick breakdown this morning, live from the friendly confines of my abode. We've got 12 fights, 5 of which are currently favored to end inside the distance. Main event of the evening, Jared Cannonier taking on Marvin Vettori. We've seen the line fluctuate in that specific bout, but let's get things kicked off here in the light heavyweight division where we have Zach Pauga taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Modestas Bukauskas has risen from the ashes like a phoenix, and he has seen better days, right? We've seen him struggle in the past against Khalil Roundtree, tore his knee up in that bout, came back, disposed of Tyson Pedro, and now in steps Zach Pauga, who went the distance with Jordan Wright, took a loss to Muhammad Usman. I do not trust Zach Pauga here to fight a smart game plan. Modestas Bukauskas, the much more fluid fighter, despite coming off of the horrific knee injury. I'll be picking Modestas Bukauskas to win. Next up, we've got Daniel Argueta versus Ronnie Lawrence. Now, I posted a tweet a few days ago of Saidub Kakramanov running through the cardio machine that was Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence looking to get back on track here against Dan Argueta, who has fought at 145 pounds now, drops down to 135 pounds here, bantamweight matchup. You saw Ronnie Lawrence, the taller fighter on the scale. Argueta looked like he had a tough cut. Argueta, both of these fighters have solid motors. I'm going to be leaning with Ronnie Lawrence here. I don't like the number at all, minus 195 at the betting window. I think Ronnie Lawrence has to come out here and prove what he's capable of once again after getting steamrolled. And the Manny Martinez bout, he had a few moments in that bout that were eyebrow raising. So I would not count Danny Argueta out of this fight completely, but I'll be picking Ronnie Lawrence to win. Next up, we've got Teresa Bleda taking on Gabriella Fernandez. Gabriella Fernandez, one thing I'll say about her, she's a very fluid striker. You watch her fight against Jasmine Jasudavicius, and the way she opened that bout with straight strikes down the pipe that were hitting the target. And Teresa Bleda, she was brought down to reality here. The Natalia Silva loss, man, that spinning kick that Bleda took, that was something that will humble just about anybody. And Bleda came into that fight riding high. In this bout, Bleda, I know she's monstrous for the division. I have serious concerns about her fighting at 125 pounds moving forward. She is enormous. I'm leaning towards the underdog here. This is another volatile women's mixed martial arts bout. I wouldn't be going out of my way to lay minus 225 on Bleda. Not so quick, my friend, as an ESPN commentator once said. I'll be picking the underdog, Gabriella Fernandez. Next up, we've got a men's flyweight bout on our hands between Carlos Hernandez and Dennis Bondar. Dennis Bondar, not a good look when you're getting ragdolled early by Malcolm Gordon. Something that really stood out to me in that bout. Now, I believe I was on Bondar in that spot. And what we have to realize is that a lot of the footage that we've seen of Bondar has been on the regional scene against opponents where you have a difficult time assessing the disparity in strength. And it seemed like Bondar was getting out-muscled there. I know he ended up breaking his arm in the bout. It wasn't able to really get going, but I actually do put some stock into that fight, even though it was a short fight, because Malcolm Gordon was all over him. And Carlos Hernandez, he's got a noodly frame. He's the much taller fighter here. He is a fighter that won't go away. I know that isn't deep analysis, but Carlos Hernandez will stay in the fight. He won't go away. I know Nascimento was able to dispose of him quickly, but there's a massive skill gap between Bondar and Nascimento. I'm leaning towards the underdog here, and Carlos Hernandez. Coffee's flowing great this morning, my friends. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to be picking the underdog, Carlos Hernandez, here to walk away with the victory. I think that Dennis Bondar is not necessarily the real deal, and we're going to find out in a few hours. Good morning, Ben. Good to see you. Thank you. Good morning, James. Welcome aboard. Great to start your Saturday with me here. Flea, welcome back, sir. Go get what's yours is the motto, the mantra. With that, we are going to take a look at a Kyung Ho Kang who is becoming an elder statesman here at plus 115. Precise striker, someone who can potentially fade late against Christian Quinones, who, I mean, the neck tattoo is a giveaway. This fighter will take risks, and I expect him to come out here guns blazing and really try to be unpredictable. And that's what made Christian Quinones who he is. And I understand why folks are taking the underdog here, but there's something about Christian Quinones. He is a bit of a wild man in here, and I think that he's going to end up catching Kyung Ho Kang, who is a formidable opponent, but he is a very predictable fighter, Kyung Ho Kang. Quinones, and he's going to end up catching Kang. I'll be picking Quinones to win. Next up, where we have Jimmy Flick taking on Alessandro Costa. One of my favorite fights of the night, and it's an interesting situation here where you have Jimmy Flick, who has proven that he is not necessarily durable, both inside of the octagon and as far as a career in mixed martial arts goes. This is somebody who walked away after the Cody Durden victory. He was getting smashed in that bout. Then the Charles Johnson fight was getting completely annihilated there, had no answers. You saw the lack of physicality from Flick costing him big time. But I will say he's a submission expert, and he will not give up on himself. He can't take the punches, though. That's the problem here. If you strike him, if you keep him off you on the feet and are able to land, he will, Jimmy Flick, wilt. His body just cannot take the punishment. And one of the pictures I posted on Twitter when I took Alessandro Costa inside the distance here at minus 121, you saw the body punches that he was hitting heavy bag. He was going to the body, and it looked to me like that may be on the table here. I see the potential for a TKO victory. Also, Alessandro Costa is no slouch on the mat. He has credentials there. My one concern for Alessandro Costa is if he ends up on his back for extended periods of time. When you see the regional tape, there have been situations where he'll be content on his back and let fighters come into his guard. I don't think he wants to do that against Jimmy Flick, who has a solid top game, but he can be reversed quickly. And if Jimmy Flick isn't able to lock something up here, Alessandro should run through him. And I'll be picking Costa to win, and to win so inside the distance. This line has started to widen. Costa now minus 280, but I'll be picking Costa to win. And I know that Albazi put Costa out, but Jimmy Flick is no Amir Albazi. Next up, where we have Nicholas Dalby taking on Muslim Salikov. Salikov coming in as the minus 190 betting favorite. Salikov is 39 years of age, and Nicholas Dalby is only a few months away from his 39th birthday. Dalby, we know exactly who these fighters are at this stage in their respective career. Salikov, more fluid fighter who's going to throw spinning attacks. We saw against Fiallo last time out. Andre Fiallo was knocked out, and I know Fiallo has seen better days. Muslim Salikov is going to be the pick here. And last time out, we cashed Salikov, Fiallo. Fight doesn't go the distance, I believe, or was it under 2.5? But in this bout, I could see this bout lasting longer than most anticipated, but I'll be picking Salikov to win. I understand Dalby gets stronger as the fight goes on and he finds his reads, but I think Salikov is just going to be too slick for him here. And even at 39 years of age, but I wonder, when is Salikov going to hang him up too? Because there's only a certain shelf life here for some fighters, and we'll speak in the main event about the shelf life of a fighter shortly. But let's continue the journey, my brothers, where we have Manny Torres taking on Nicholas Mata in a firework affair, a striker's delight. Where I will say this, Manny Torres, it's difficult to get out of the range of his striking. When he's throwing strikes, his length is a real problem. He will go for it. He's not necessarily worried about what's coming back at him, and that's a dangerous fighter because he's going to go for it. And if he finds the target on Mata, Mata could get knocked out fairly quickly. We've seen it happen in the past. And the other side of the coin is Torres, when he's going for broke here, that leaves openings for Mata. And that could be via the gas tank wasting away for Torres, or Mata ending up countering him. So fireworks are on full display here. I think the unders are live, and I'll be picking Manny Torres to get a brutal knockout here, but it should be an exciting bout inside of the UFC Apex. Give me Manny Torres. Next up, where we have Patsabatini, who's looking to stifle and ground Lucas Almeida, who's coming in as the plus 165 underdog. I have concerns about Patsabatini's chin. We've seen it rear its ugly head in a few fights. He's a very intelligent fighter, but when you get rocked, you aren't thinking as clearly. And for him, he might be trying to just force these takedowns if he's getting lit up on the feet. So he's got to fight a very intelligent game plan. I have concerns for Patsabatini here, but he is a very intelligent fighter, and Almeida is a dog. Almeida is a fighter who's not going to give up on himself. So we saw against Daniel Zellhuber and others, he will fight hard for your money. So I understand why folks are on Almeida there, but I think that this is one of those fights where Sabatini is going to find his way to either the body lock or a trip takedown against the fence. And look at the size advantage for Almeida here. Massive, massive. So the challenge is closing the distance for Patsabatini. I'll be wishing Patsabatini well. I hope he pulls off the victory, and I'll be picking Patsabatini for the win. But this is a very dangerous fight for him. Torres, KO or bust. Yes. The Torres Mata under 1.5 is the best plays of the week. All right, we'll see. I know that line has kind of blown out recently. Next up, we've got Armen Petrosian taking on Christian Duncan. Christian Duncan, who burst onto the scene, had some excellent fights overseas, and now this is the proving grounds, right? The 8-sided octagon. This is where it happens. And we saw against Todorovic last time out that this is not a game for folks who are necessarily brittle. We know that Jimmy Flick's one of those fighters who has difficulty taking punishment. We know Dusko Todorovic is also one of those fighters, but Armen Petrosian is one tough hombre who is a skilled striker, very savvy on the feet. And this is a fight where I want these fighters to show me something. I know who Petrosian is. I don't necessarily know who Duncan is inside of the octagon. I need to see more out of him. I'll be sitting back and watching this fight, but the pick is going to be Petrosian here. I think that The goods have been shown on that side. I'd like to see Gregory Rodriguez take on Christian Duncan and see where the chips fall after that fight, because both of those fighters were tested, Petrosian and Rodriguez. And here I'll be picking Petrosian, though. Interesting bout. I'm not necessarily sold on Duncan. I gotta agree. Oh, está es como lo hacemos, my brother. Next up, we've got Joaquim Silva taking on Arman Sarukian. Arman Sarukian coming in as the 1050 betting favorite. And he's taking on Joaquim Silva, who, coming off of the Ronson victory, and he may be in over his head here against a 26-year-old phenom who, it's interesting, when folks ask me who would I want to see Islam Makhachev face in his next matchup, I personally would like to see Arman Sarukian rematch him. I think that is a phenomenal fight. The gas tank of Sarukian is legit. And Joaquim Silva, we know he's going to go for broke here. He has no time to waste. He's going to try to come out here guns blazing, or he's going to get grounded into the mat. And I'll be picking Sarukian here. It's just a matter of how does he pull this off. I could see a submission. I could see a knockout. And Silva will be throwing bombs. So the pick is going to be Arman Sarukian and inside the distance. But we know Silva against Jared Gordon and others, he hung in fights, but Sarukian's a different level. His gas tank, the throttle, when he hits the throttle, it's hard for other fighters to keep up with it. And that Gamrot fight, I had Sarukian winning that fight. So Sarukian inside the distance. All right. So El gusto es mío, my brothers. For this breakdown, we've got Jared Cannonier main event versus Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori coming in as -115 betting favorite. Cannonier has been floating around at dog odds at a number of books. Cannonier, 39 years of age. He's a fighter who we know will fight hard for your money. He is the heavier puncher here. Michael, good morning. Great to see you. And the coffee is tasting extra delicious this morning. I concur. Marvin Vettori he's coming off of a lackluster performance against Roman Dolidze. And Marvin Vettori is someone who has multiple paths to victory here. He could potentially come in with a grappling heavy game plan, but I don't trust him to do that. He's one of those fighters who is very, very stubborn. We've seen against Israel Adesanya and others where Master Rafael Cordero was begging him, pleading with him to change his game plan, and he had no plan B. But he is a tough guy with a brick head, and he's a much younger fighter here. Cannonier, a bit of a reach advantage inside of the smaller octagon. I understand how Vettori may look like a sitting duck here, and Cannonier may look like he's shooting fish in a barrel because Dolidze and others have been able to tee off on Vettori. But I'm going to be picking Vettori here. I think that not only the large disparity in age, you also have the gas tank of Vettori. You have the physicality of Vettori, and Vettori, I don't think he's going to go away, and he's going to be causing issues with cage clinching and stalling against the fence for certain times. And I think that this fight is going to get extended, and Vettori's going to pull away down the stretch. That's how I see it happening. And I'll be picking Marvin Vettori. I know that I wanted to get this breakdown done in 20 minutes. We were able to do so. So cheers to you. Go get what's yours. Thank you for tuning in, my brothers. Remember, one fight at a time. Pick your spots. Make sure that you are taking the time to follow here and subscribe. And let's do this, my brothers. Let's do this. Lightning quick breakdown this morning. Cheers to you.